be making a sweet Airsoft underslung Masterkey shotgun. Now a Masterkey shotgun, if you don't know, is a shotgun that is minimized somehow to reduce its length and then is mounted to the underside rails of a M4 or any other rifle that it could fit on. They are actually used in real life, albeit rarely, as well as video games. So I'm going to try and do what I think is the most effective, cheapest, and easiest Masterkey that we can possibly make. So let's get to it. The first step in this mod is selecting the shotgun that you're going to be using for it. I got this shotgun off of Airsoft Megastore. At the time it was on sale and the price was quite competitive. The service was pretty bad. It's the only time I've ever purchased from that company specifically, so I can't say if that's normal. I picked this one specifically for 3 reasons. The first one is that it's a multi-shot shotgun, which is not strictly necessary, but in my opinion will make it a little bit more effective and more fun. The second and more important reason is that this specific model has the priming handle a little bit further back on the gun, further towards the grip, which means that when we go to chop the barrels off here to shorten it, it's actually going to be able to be more compact without having to do any modifications to the slide itself. The third reason is that this one has a pretty nice rail on the top. Now normally this would be used for mounting an optic or a scope, but in our case it's going to make attaching it to the M4 it's going to be on a lot easier. The first thing that we need to do is just cut the barrels off. This feels wrong. Oh well. Went ahead and sliced through the bottom bar. I can actually slide it out through the front here. So we can just get that bar out of the way right now. And then that gives us a much easier access to do the bottom cut, so we can still be a little bit more gingerly when we go to cut the inner barrels. I took a small scrap of paper and wrapped it tightly around these barrels and then shoved it in probably about 1 inch back in here, keeping the barrels a little bit more snug so that while we're cutting through them with the saw, they're not going to twist or bend or become unattached to anything that's in the actual priming mech itself. What you're going to want to do is kind of sand off the inside of the barrel where there might be some metal burrs. I actually use a little flathead screwdriver. It's just the right size, and it just takes off just the burrs and everything without scratching up the inner side of the barrel very much. Take this little plastic piece that you've got in the end that's separating the barrels, and I'm going to drill each one of these barrel holes. The piece isn't made to slip over past the barrels, and I want it to be completely flush with the end of the barrel. I ended up going up to a 5/16 drill bit, and we're just going to drill out these 3 little holes. It is in there and it's holding them pretty tight, but it's not going to be perfect. At this point, all we need to do is just sand these off a little bit better. If you want to, at this point, you can stop, and you've got yourself a pretty sweet sawed-off shotgun. This is actually small enough. I'd say this is maybe 18 inches, 20 inches, that you could actually custom make a drop leg holster for this, which would be hilarious. Remove the grip here and also this portion of the sight, which at this point is actually doing nothing because we had to cut off the front portion. A lot of these shotguns, whether they're gripped or have an extendable or full stock on them, actually have a piece that comes out about this far, probably about 2 inches farther than this. So I was very pleasantly surprised when this whole grip comes off in one piece, and this is super compact. So this means that in this form, it's going to be, an even shorter, more compact shotgun. The final step for making our Masterkey shotgun is figuring out how we're going to attach it to the rails of another gun. The way that I figured out that's really easy is actually to use these little bars that come on these carrying handles. So basically you take 2 of them. You just want to make sure that you line up the holes and so that they're both facing inwards. And so you do like this. And you've got the attachment point for that part, and you do it the same right there. Now because there's nothing that's really holding this open, it is a little bit fiddly to get on there as far as like sliding it on and getting your gun mounted for the first time. But depending on what the brand is, it can be a pretty strong connection. This gun already has some of these rails mounted because it has an M4 shortened pistol basically that's attached onto the front. I cannot even believe how perfect that fits. At least on the back side, if you know what I'm saying. Now that you've succeeded in making a pretty big mess in your living room or garage or wherever you're working, you should have a awesome looking functional Masterkey shotgun for Airsoft. This is literally the first time I've tested pumping it, and so it could fall off the rails, but let's give it a shot. Okay, it's good so far. Oh, I was pulling this trigger. That's funny. Shell out. Let's put a shell in there. You'll load it up, and then you are good to go. So once you've got it cocked, you're going to have to either switch your hand to fire it like this, or you're going to have to switch your hand to fire it like this. So it's not like something you can do majorly rapid fire. Wow. I'm surprised that actually the rails are holding it as tight as it is, because these 3-shot shotguns do not have a light prime. It's pretty tough. But yeah, with the stock and the second handle in this, it's totally manageable. Obviously, it's still pretty long, but comparatively, it's much shorter. It's possible that you could even cut it back, quite a bit more. But the more you cut it, obviously, the more you're risking that you're going to damage the actual functionality of the gun. I can take this off if I want and just have a really, sawed-off short shotgun I can use as secondary. This gun obviously also has a shortened muzzle. In fact, I'm going to get another M4 just to compare the normal size against. If you had a full-size flash hider, then you would not be sticking out that far past that. I mean, this is a Black Ops M4. So, I mean, this is a very mid-size M4. This is definitely not in the DMR range of length of barrels and whatnot. I discovered that this little piece right here, which was originally a cap that screwed onto the bottom here, but that attached onto the priming bar. So you can take it off, and I just sanded it a little bit so that it would actually fit in like this. There's a secondary thing that I noticed, which was that these shells almost perfectly fit into here. Now the only part that was catching was just this little nub on the back of the shell, and so I just sanded that down just a smidge, and so you can actually see that they go right in there, and then this part's pretty snug pressure fit, and so you can actually have your shells stored right in there. Unfortunately, in mine, if I put 2 in there, it doesn't all the way close. So you can see I would either have to probably cut a little bit of this off so that it snugs up a little bit better. And if you hadn't actually cut your gun down without modifying it at all, except for just to sand the shells, you could have had 4 extra shells of shot right in there, almost like a real shotgun does. Thanks very much for watching this video, guys. I hope you liked the little mod tutorial and everything. If you liked it, please just give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, go ahead and click that subscribe button down there to actually make and modify all kinds of stuff. So if you want to see some more of that stuff coming up, subscribe and stick around.